robot, but you really have a mind. Something like that is presumably what Nagel was thinking of. You're grasping how the other person's experiencing the world. You're trying to imagine the other person's conscious life from within. I mean, in the case of the bat, your functional structure is pretty unlike the bat, so you're not going to be able really to use your own box and arrow structure to model a bat. But it's also likely to be true that your own conscious experiences are very different to the bat's, so that you can't imagine from the inside getting the bat's qualia, getting the bat's conscious life. Imagining the other person's qualia doesn't seem to be, on the face of it, it doesn't seem to be a matter of modeling their box and arrow structure at all. There seem to be two different ways you could think about imagination here, imagining someone else's life from the inside. And neither of them seem to have much to do with laws of causality. Is that right? Okay, any questions about that? We're going to spend a little while next week on this, but yeah. How it works, that's right. These are two pictures of what's going on when you imagine someone else's mental life from the inside. That's right. You factor in the ways they're different to you. Right. You could do it like that, but the question is, suppose you're just going to imagine what your friend does. You're not going to use yourself as a model for them. Yeah? Well, people are endlessly complicated. Right? People are all very different, very complex. So if you're going to imagine what your friend would do when they hear the footsteps in the basement, then how will you do it? You have to have an extensive knowledge of how your friend behaves. Yeah? And be able to draw on that. Now, if this is a good friend, then you might have that. You might have all that stored away. Yeah? But suppose it's just somebody who happens to live close by you, who you don't know at all. Yeah? Then how would you go about predicting what they'll do if they hear footsteps in the basement? Yeah, that's the idea. And that will be a very, what should I say, a very efficient way of reasoning. Because if people are pretty much alike, yeah, if we're all humans, we all have basic things in common, basic aspects of functional structure in common, then a lot of what we do will be the same. So it will be very effective to just use your box and arrow structure without having to, if you take this is obviously a very simple schematic model, right? Having that fully explicit, it would be like using an explicit theory of the aerodynamics of an airplane to predict how it's going to behave in wind. That's a real difficult thing to do. Yeah, it requires a lot of making stuff explicit, maybe getting it wrong, and then doing a lot of calculations that you also might get wrong. This way is much simpler. Just use yourself as a model and see what happens to you in that situation. Is that plain? Okay. Yes? Yeah, you've known your friend your whole life. Yes. Yeah. Yes, right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not dead sure about that. On the one hand, of course I see what you mean, that we always have that sense of the depth and unknowability of other people. Yeah? And it's important to keep that in mind. But at the same time, if you come off the roller coaster and you're feeling kind of nauseous and groggy and a bit dizzy, yeah, and you look at your friend who is also kind of staggering a bit and not looking kind of out of sorts, you can look at each other and say, boy, I know what we need. Yeah, we need a drink. You see what I mean? You can look at someone and just think, I know exactly what's going on there. Yeah, it's just like what's happening with me. So I think we have both these reactions the whole time to other people. That's part of the puzzle of the mind. That on the one hand, you take it for granted, you know what someone else is thinking, how they're feeling. And on the other hand, we always do this sense of the alien, the unfathomable, about how other people are. Yeah. I'm inclined to be optimistic myself and think we do know better. We tend to underestimate how well we can know other people. But I do see the pool on the other side. Okay? Yeah. Okay. So, how do laws and causality fit into this? I mean, often when you're trying to understand what's going on with a complex system, whether it's a human being or a gorilla or a shark or a robot or a corporation, what you're trying to do is get an understanding of how it works causally, what laws govern its behavior. That's what science does. Well, science is very interested in laws. If you're going to give a scientific explanation, you pour boiling water into a glass, and the glass cracks, and you say, why did the glass crack? How come the glass cracked? Then what you want to do is find laws such that, what's the basic, are any chemistry or any chemistry major? How come glasses crack when you pour boiling water in them? I'll tell you what I think. When you put boiling water, all the molecules are kind of rushing about at great speed, right? And when all the molecules are rushing about at great speed, then sooner or later they're going to find a weakness in the structure of the glass. And then because they're going to go so fast, they're going to push that crack wide apart. Right? That's the explanation, something like that. So without having the technical vocabulary to really make this rigorous, what you're getting there is laws governing the behavior of water molecules, laws governing the behavior of the glass. And you're saying what happened here was to be expected, given the laws, the kind of molecules that were in question. And when you say stuff like heat is motion of molecules, then what you're doing is you're saying how the laws governing heat are actually ultimately laws governing the motion of molecules. You're giving deeper explanations by giving a scientific account of what's going on. But how is it with getting an imaginative understanding of someone and knowing the laws under which they fall? That really seems different. With heat is motion of molecules. You could say, well, it's just a law. Whenever I pour boiling water into a glass, 9 times out of 10, the glass is going to crack. That's the way it works. And then you say, why is that? And then you understand it much better when you get the laws and you get the stuff about molecules. But if you take something like imagining someone hearing footsteps in the basement and seeing them pick up a baseball bat, if I can keep with that example, then do you get a better understanding of why they did that? When you say, well, look, the brain has got a whole bunch of molecules in it, and when those brain molecules in a particular area spin round and round very fast, the person always picks up a baseball bat. You can just predict that. Here we go. Do you understand what was going on any better when you get the laws governing the molecules in the brain? Or if you want to know why would you do that, why would you try to defend yourself? What you need to know is the reasoning. And it just seems an altogether different kind of explanation. I mean, what is your hunch? Do you understand the phenomena here better when you shift to talking about the molecules in the brain and how they generate movement? Or is it have you just started talking about something else? Do you see what I'm asking? You don't see what I'm asking? Okay. Anyone else? Yep.
Would you count that psychological or physical tools that they fall into imaginative that
That's a great question. I was taking it that you're moving to a physical level here to find the laws, right? But are there psychological laws here? Are there any psychological laws like that? What would be an example of a psychological law?
say, for instance, the person grabs his back, there's a particular trigger you're looking at, a particular trigger which sends it back to the memory.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Or certain character development led them to be scared of powerful
Yeah.
something like that. So that meant he was more prone to grab the back.
You're more prone to grab the bat. Yeah. I think just if you think about the way you had to formulate it there, if there was something suitable in your background that set you off, then you'd grab the bat. Yeah? But that's not really a law because you don't know what suitable means. Like physics is full of laws. Bodies attract each other directly as the square of their mass and inversely as the square of their distance. Right? So physics is full of real hard laws. You don't really get those laws in psychology. So one question about is, are there any laws in psychology at all? And that actually goes back to that thing about the depth of other people. That, of course, there are millions of factors in anyone's background. You know, you or I both have endlessly many memories tucked away there. Which one is going to be active when you hear the footsteps in the basement? That's so hard to predict. Yeah, there are really going to be a law here. Yeah. The physical laws are. If a molecule moves at light speed, yeah. Is that right? Is it kind of like changing country? You move into a different jurisdiction. Okay, but yeah, okay, fair enough. The different things apply. Yeah. Oh, so what we have in psychology are laws. Is that what you're saying? They're just special case laws. That's great. Okay, that really picks up in the last question too. Yeah, there are special case laws here. Okay, we're actually going to let's spend some time on that next week. Are these special case laws? First of all, let me just note it is very hard to formulate those laws. Yeah, we don't. I mean, if you try doing it, I did it just at the drop of a hat when I said that thing about the law of gravity. Yeah, you can't do that at the drop of a hat in psychology. Yeah. The other thing is, another interesting thing about this is that doesn't give any role to the imagination. That doesn't give any role to imaginative understanding, getting inside someone else's head. But that seems so important in ordinary life. You know, if you want to know, you're meeting someone you haven't seen for a long time, you want to know how they are. What you want to do is get into their head. Yeah. But the final thing here is, suppose we say there are psychological laws, then how do they relate to the physical laws? Do they